We get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, Bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
The first trailer for X-Men 97 has finally arrived, and with it, the release date for this long-awaited revival. Starting on March 20th, 2024, 90s kids will finally get to see the next chapter of X-Men the Animated Series. And one thing is clear, the X-Men still have a lot of enemies nearly 30 years later. But just what is X-Men 97 about? Who are the X-Men fighting this time around? And what does it mean now that Jean Grey is pregnant? Let's break down what we know about X-Men 97 based on the trailer and the classic comic book storylines the show is adapting. So put on your best Wolverine voice and buckle up, bubs. If we flash all the way back to the year 1997, the original X-Men cartoon ended on somewhat of a down note. In the series finale, the anti-mutant firebrand Henry Peter Gyrich attacks Professor X with an energy gun, seemingly the only kind of gun that exists in this universe, and leaves him mortally wounded. The X-Men and Magneto gather to bid farewell to their beloved mentor, but hope emerges when Lilandra and the Shi'ar arrive. Lilandra offers to bring her lover back home and use Shi'ar's advanced medicine to save him.
I know you cannot bear to see him go, but it is the only way.
The series ends with the team bidding farewell to Xavier as his ship flies away. X-Men 97 picks up not long after that bittersweet farewell. Surprisingly though, the trailer makes it seem as though Xavier died after heading into space. Several shots show the world mourning Xavier's passing, and we even see a casket being lowered at a funeral. Did he pull a literal Poochie and die on his way back to his home planet? Or is Shi'ar medicine not all it's cracked up to be? Or have the X-Men simply decided it's easier to let the world believe their former leader is dead? Either way, it's clear that tensions will flare when Magneto returns for the reading of Xavier's will.
Everything he built now belongs to me.
That scene is reminiscent of a 2014 Uncanny X-Men storyline called The Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier, which also played out during a time when Professor X was dead in the comics. Spoiler, he got better. Magneto seems positively giddy at the news that his old friend left him everything, making him the new headmaster of the Xavier Institute. The X-Men now face an uncertain future with Magneto calling the shots. Magneto wasn't really portrayed as an outright villain in the classic series so much as Xavier's misguided opposite, but we can still expect plenty of tension as the X-Men grow used to their new leader. For his part, Magneto will face an uphill battle to become a law-abiding citizen again. The trailer includes a shot of Magneto on trial at the United Nations. That scene is clearly drawing from 1985's Uncanny X-Men number 200, right down to Magneto's garish purple costume. In the comic, Magneto is able to prove his innate goodness to the judge, but it's only a matter of time before he backslides into villainy. Will the same hold true in X-Men 97? One of the reasons X-Men the Animated Series always stood out is that the show told a serialized story. The X-Men make real progress throughout those 5 seasons in winning hearts and minds and working to make Xavier's dream of a peaceful human-mutant coexistence a reality. If anything, that trend looks to be continuing in X-Men 97. One shot shows a memorial for Xavier, proving that plenty of people in the human community are mourning the loss of such a public champion of mutant rights. Another shot in the trailer shows an issue of the Daily Bugle blowing in the wind. Not only does this shot serve as a fun nod to Spider-Man, the animated series, it also offers clues about the state of human-mutant relations in X-Men 97. The paper offers an inside look at a mutant fashion show, featuring an eclectic cast of characters like Dust, Banshee, and Nature Girl. If mutants can put on a successful fashion show, then things might be going pretty well for them, right? Not necessarily. Other shots in the trailer suggest there are still plenty of people who hate and fear mutant kind. And let's not forget that the Sentinels are making a comeback. Gyrich and Bolivar Trask may have been discredited in the original series, but apparently there's still a demand for these oversized mutant hunting robots. Thanks to the X-Men 97 toys, we also know that the X-Men have a new enemy to face, the Executioner. The Executioner is apparently making his debut this season. A former FBI agent named Carl Denty, the Executioner uses his extensive files on mutants and his armory of confiscated weapons to hunt down and murder mutants. Luckily for the X-Men, they still have a few tricks up their brightly colored spandex sleeves. The trailer features a nifty shot of Gambit and Wolverine charging into battle against the Sentinels, with Gambit charging up Wolverine's adamantium claws. Now that Marvel is targeting a slightly older audience with the new series, we'll finally get to see what these heroes are really capable of on the battlefield.
To me, my X-Men.
The Daily Bugle newspaper includes another fun cameo with the headline Hellfire Gala. Anyone who's been following the X-Men comics in recent years will be excited to see that Easter egg. In the comics, the current mutant status quo has shifted a great deal. Mutants now have their own nation on the island of Krakoa. In this new golden age, the X-Men have unlocked the power of immortality and are enjoying their new role on the world stage. The Hellfire Gala is sort of a coming out party for mutant kind. A recurring event where the X-Men dress up in their finest attire and rub elbows with the world's wealthy elite. Even Kevin Feige showed up one time. The most recent Hellfire Gala turned out to be a disaster for the mutant nation, however. No sooner did the X-Men unveil their newest team to the world than they were attacked and massacred by the futuristic Sentinel Nimrod. Thanks to that plot twist, the phrase Hellfire Gala now carries with it some very ominous undertones. Of course, things are quite a bit different in the X-Men 97 universe. Mutants do have their own nation in the form of Genosha, but on the whole, this is a much more traditional status quo than where the comics are these days. The Hellfire Gala may be nothing more than a glitzy fashion show akin to the Met Gala. The question is how this event connects to the Hellfire Gala. The secret mutant cabal appeared in the original series during the show's adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga, though there they were only referred to as the Inner Circle. We know from Marvel's previous art reveals that characters like Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw are returning for X-Men 97, but what role will they play? Are they still enemies of the X-Men, or have they, like Magneto, turned over a new leaf? Perhaps the biggest twist in the trailer comes with the reveal that Jean Grey is pregnant. That's right, after spending the bulk of the original series trying to become officially married, Scott and Jean are taking the next step in building their family. Of course, one thing X-Men comic fans know all too well is that things are never simple where Cyclops and Jean Grey's children are concerned. The franchise is at its most convoluted when it comes to the Summers family tree. In the comics, Cyclops' son Nathan was actually conceived with Madeline Pryor, a Jean lookalike who turned out to be a clone created by Mr. Sinister. Nathan grows up to become the time traveler Cable. Meanwhile, Scott and Jean's daughter Rachel is from an alternate future timeline. The question is, how much of this backstory is being adapted for X-Men 97? Here again, the show's merch gives us some helpful clues. Hasbro has already revealed a Madeline Pryor figure as part of its X-Men 97 line, so it does look like she'll be appearing in the show. We also know Sinister himself is one of the major villains of Season 1, so it may well be that the Jean we see in the trailer is actually a clone. And that means things are about to get real weird for the X-Men.
But Cyclops and Jean Grey are mine.
As much as X-Men 97 is a deliberate throwback to the original animated series, plenty of things are changing. That goes for the X-Men roster too. While all the classic X-Men characters are returning, some with their original voice actors and some with new actors, the team roster will feature several new faces. For one thing, both Morph and Bishop look to be permanent members of the X-Men in the new series. Has Morph conquered his fears and recovered from his brush with death? Bishop played a recurring role in the original series, frequently hopping back in time to warn the X-Men about an impending disaster that leaves the future in a sorry state. But this time, as in the classic X-Men comics from the 90s, Bishop's trip to the past appears to be one way. What disaster is he trying to prevent this time? Does it have something to do with Madeline Pryor? We also know that Jubilee is no longer the only junior X-Men on the team. Sunspot is making his debut this time. In the comics, Magneto became the leader of the New Mutants when he took over Xavier's school. Could a similar development be happening here? Will we see even more Teenage Mutants joining the Xavier Institute? Finally, what about Nightcrawler? This is another character whose return has been spoiled by the X-Men 97 toys. How does he fit into the X-Men 97 puzzle? Nightcrawler only appeared in a pair of episodes in the original series, but is he being set up for a bigger role this time? Will he be officially joining the team this time? Could X-Men 97 introduce the British X-Team known as Excalibur? Even after all this time, the animated universe is still just scratching the surface of what the source material has to offer.
No matter how dark it is, we must believe in each other.
So what are your biggest burning questions about X-Men 97? Are you prepared for the convoluted saga of Cyclops and Jean Grey's children? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you like and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.